Are you ready to be on China's hit list? Sorry, China's hit list, because we're going to talk about a Chinese movie today. We're not going to say good things about it. I'm joined as always by my fantastic panel of nerds. Matt Vader's here. What's up, dude?
Oh, man. I just want to put giant rockets on things and make them go.
It's fascinating. Judah's also here.
Hello.
Did you watch this movie?
Yep.
I'm
what
shocked.
a stinker.
Yeah, man. I didn't think you did. I thought you were like, I'm not watching that crap.
I watched it like this.
And it just kept going and going.
Jeez, yeah. Katie is also here, the frustrated producer of the show. Welcome, sir.
Yes, this movie was insultingly bad, not just to my intelligence, but like it's just not a good movie on any level. Like it looks pretty
Sometimes.
but it's really not a good film.
And our favorite resident smart person, Dr. Thomas Targett. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thanks for having me. Normally, when I join your podcast, I contact my friends and family to let them know they can come watch me talk about something interesting. But today, I neglected to do that.
With
This
intention?
movie felt as long as the 2,500-year journey between the stars.
Yes, yeah. Well, it's okay because we're going to, this is not being live streamed. We are just going to release this as an edited podcast later on. So they're not missing anything, but I will be sure to let you know when this video drops so that you can pass it around. But yeah, we wanted you to come on and join us because we're all not smart enough to really truly nitpick the show. We can kind of roll our eyes.
Speak for yourself.
But
Oh, yeah. Now you're an astrophysicist.
oh, now you're an astrophysicist.
No, you know what? I passed basic physics in high school.
Hey, everybody.
That's enough to know that there's so much wrong with this movie.
Kadish worked in Hollywood. He knows physics now. Okay, so.
But I was watching this movie, and of course, the premise itself is absurd. But it's a sci-fi movie, so like, how much can you? I mean, every sci-fi movie is a little absurd. This one, like, your suspension of disbelief has to be a freaking bungee cord to get through this freaking movie.
There's so much about this movie that is just absurd.
Yeah,
Alex, do you want to tell people what the movie is we're
I
talking
kind of don't.
I can.
Oh, Jude
Oh, yeah,
can.
yeah.
Jude, what are we talking about today?
We are talking about 2019's Wandering Earth.
Oh, it just sounds weird.
Yeah. It has a rating of TVMA,
Okay.
a runtime of a absurd 2 hours and 5 minutes.
A very long
That's
time.
all this is 2 hours and 5 minutes?
Literally,
It feels like 2,000 years.
it feels like 4 hours.
It
Yeah.
does. I thought it was like at least Lord of the Rings length, like
It
3
does.
hours long.
It's like,
Okay.
oh my God, this thing's never ending.
Here's an even
Jesus.
more absurd factoid for you.
Okay.
This had a budget of $48 million. What do you think the box office was?
250 million yen. I don't know.
The box
Vader?
What do they do in China?
It's yen, right?
I don't know. 674 billion Chinese yangzis. I don't know what
Close.
Yuan.
699 million.
Wow.
Dollars. US?
That's the I
Or
think they
yuan.
converted it.
Yawn.
It made that
Yuan.
much money in just the Chinese market.
That's what the internet said.
Wow.
Well, I didn't see it over here anywhere.
Yeah, neither did
So-
I.
Yeah,
so
all
the-
in China.
Yeah. So the funny thing about this movie is that the Chinese audiences are notoriously anti-sci-fi, like Star Wars and stuff like that just doesn't do well over in China. And so this was like the first kind of like science fiction movie to ever like really do well in China. And I think a lot of that has to do with the Chinese government subsidizing it.
Yeah.
Because there's an interesting story behind this
Very,
movie.
very propagandic.
Oh, for sure.
There's a lot of Chinese flags in this thing.
Well,
man.
they're the only ones who survived. They
Yeah.
took over the entire planet.
No, they didn't. Everybody survived.
Well, when we talk about the book that it's based on, there's a lot of very subtle Chinese propaganda. in
Shut
there.
up. There's a book.
There's a book.
Yeah, it was based on a book.
Are we past 30 seconds yet?
Yeah.
Who the fuck reads that book? That's honest to God.
So I'd like to give you a
Dr. Targett,
synopsis.
Did you read this thing?
I had not heard of this until you inflicted it upon me.
All right, Jude, take it away with the synopsis.
So I'd like to give you a synopsis, but then I would like to talk about. I came across in my research something very entertaining, and it's the goofs section of the IMDb.
Oh, boy.
And what they consider is the goof concerning this movie, because
Okay.
you know everything about this movie was absurd,
Right.
and then there was some really entertaining little factoids in the goofs
can't
that
wait
I
to
want to
hear
go over.
Which is why we got the astrophysicist here.
Yeah.
To let us know.
Let us know about all the goofs.
So for those of you who
Professional
haven't,
development and research, and you bring me on for this.
yes.
for those of you who haven't watched it, allow me. If the sun ever starts to die, China will straight up kill us all with a plan to save the Earth that's so crazy, there's no scientific way it'll work. Strapping rockets to propel Earth to a new solar system, the planet begins a 2,000-year journey, and along the way, hijinks ensue. Discuss.
That's it.
That's it.
I
I
mean,
was not wasting a lot of time on
yeah,
this.
no.
Nothing
I'm glad.
about hamster
You know what, though?
bubble guns or nothing.
I'm seriously glad that you did that because I have to edit the synopsis, and sometimes they go a little long. Which,
Yeah.
if it's a good movie, I don't mind. But for this one, that's going to be super fun to just plop like 2 screens in there and then be done. This freaking movie, dude. I don't even know what to say about it. It's
so ridiculous that it's almost comical.
yeah.
But it's not funny, haha. It's just like, oh my god, when is this going to end?
Yeah,
it's so dumb.
I was gonna say we like to use the word slaction. This is the quintessential slaction movie.
Oh, I don't even think it's.
It's like just one absurd action scene after another that just kind of loosely ties this weird plot together. But anyway, Jude, you had some fun facts that you wanted
This
to
is
share.
my favorite one.
Go ahead.
Okay. The backup plan is Project Helios to send a space probe with DNA. This means abandoning attempts to save Earth. But there's no logical reason why they shouldn't do both. It's a whole plot point in the movie.
That's
They have
literally the
to
whole
stop
thing.
it from happening.
Yeah, but there's no logical reason to not do.
They
both.
should have already done
All right,
that.
here, listen, Dr. Target. Maybe they should have just made a sleeper ship, right, like Wrath of Khan, and sent it
exactly.
towards this new planet.
Yeah.
And maybe,
Every one of those engines they make could have been a ship that with hibernation pods.
yeah,
It doesn't
yeah,
take
yeah.
1,000 generations. Like that was the main point. I'm like, this ship is the solution. Build 1,000 of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, and apparently they have unlimited resources on Earth because how many engines are strapped to the side of the planet?
Like 12,000.
It's
I
ridiculous.
think it was 12,000.
Yeah. And then I work in mining. So when they showed that shot of where they got the fuel, which
Rocks.
is
The
rocks,
rocks.
they use rocks for fuel in this movie. I was like, you'd run out of resources in about, I don't know, 20 years at that rate. Like they were digging holes through the core of the Earth trying to get rocks to burn as fuel.
I would have dug a hole to
It'd be
the
like-
center of the Earth and used that
The
as my
magma?
propulsion.
The liquid hot magma.
the magma.
The magma.
Anyway,
Yeah, yeah.
Dr. Target, can you speak just lightly on how absurd using rocks for fuel is? And is that even conceivable at all?
Sure. So I take my job seriously, and you asked me to watch this movie and provide feedback. So I spent at least 7 hours last night with the mathematics and the spreadsheet.
You put way more work into this
No.
than any of all of us did. Yeah.
That's what it. So I want to give them one positive thing to say first, and at the end of the movie when they say, "Oh, we're going to accelerate for 500 years to 1/1000th the speed of light, and then cruise and then slow down." I actually checked that, and they did that maths correctly. That all actually adds up. So I'll give them credit for doing that. They have 10,000 boosters, and they actually tell you, if you listen to one of the news reports at the beginning, they tell you the thrust of each thruster is 150 trillion tons of propulsive force, and if you multiply that by 10,000, by 10,000, that actually does add up to the correct amount of force you would need. But the rocks is where it goes wrong. Yeah, well, actually, that's one of the points where it goes wrong. But you can use rocks to conduct nuclear fusion, but it's one of the last and most inefficient stages. In order to actually provide enough energy to do what they're trying to do, you would have to fuse almost every rock on the planet. So by the time you got there, you'd just be one giant engine, and the Earth would just be this used up ball of carbon.
I would love to see at the end of their journey, the Earth just looks like a eaten out apple core.
Yeah.
Just floating.
Nothing left.
Well, I was
like it's all the life, everything on the planet dies
Yeah.
during that journey. So what Vader said is right, in that for every one of those engines you build, just build a sleeper ship, put people on it and send them across, and you're way better off.
I was really excited because I was like, maybe we're going to get to see this burnt out husk of a planet in The Wandering Earth 2.
Yeah.
But it's a prequel.
The second movie is
The
a
second
prequel?
movie's a
That's
freaking
bullshit.
Oh,
prequel.
that's some horse shit.
I feel robbed right now.
Yeah.
It's like, damn it.
Yeah.
My
That's
question
ridiculous.
is, how is there any atmosphere, and how is there still gravity?
Yeah, well, gravity is. I should just ask him. Target.
Why didn't everything just fall off of the Earth when we left our solar system?
This is good. So I actually worked out the rate of acceleration they would experience moving the planet, and it wouldn't actually strip off the atmosphere. But what it would do, and I think they kind of did this, was that it would slosh all the water to the backside of the planet, which is why all their cities are buried under buried under that much ice. So that kind of made sense. The atmosphere should stay on the planet because the rate of acceleration is not sufficient to strip it off. And gravity is based upon mass, so the mass of the Earth remains the same. I feel like I'm saying too many good things about this movie.
Yeah, don't make me like it.
Don't make it make sense, man.
Believe me, it's all wrong, except they did get those tiny little bits right. You just happen to have focused in on those.
Did you work on this movie as a consultant? Did you advise them?
I
You
would
little
not
sneak.
tell you if I did.
Well, okay, so he's defending a couple of the things that we had trouble believing. So what was it about this movie specifically for you guys that just was like, God, like eye rolling?
It was just absurd.
How so though?
So the engines and the rocks and the working mines on the surface of the planet and
This whole plan.
But
It
what
was
makes that less believable than warp speed on a ship going faster than the speed
I
of
don't
light?
know. It just doesn't work.
Like
for
where-
me.
'cause
There's something my mind breaks at a certain point of absurdness.
Okay.
If you want to bring Star Trek up, Star Trek to me is it's real. Okay, it's real, and that's where we're going in science. It's going to happen someday. But yeah, I just feel like it's absurd because and I'm just going to say it. Partly because it's Chinese. Okay, so those goddamn Chinese people, and they think they're so smart, and it's just dumb.
Well, they probably don't you think they feel the same way about our sci-fi movies?
Listen, how many Chinese movies
Damn
do you see in our
Americans think they're
theater?
so smart.
You don't see any Chinese movies, and our entire Hollywood system is skewed towards making China happy.
But
don't you? It's ridiculous.
You like Pacific Rim though? Giant robots fighting giant monsters.
That's Japanese.
I'm not talking about that.
Kaiju's.
I'm saying the absurdity of the whole situation.
Yeah, but those are just monsters. It's like watching a Godzilla movie.
It's a monster
different.
movie.
This is
different
just
because this is claiming to use real physics. Right. It's claiming to use fusion, which is real. It's claiming to use these numbers, which are real. It's not claiming that they've invented anything like a warp coil or a warp drive or something outside of natural science, and that's why it seems crazy. Like if they said, "Hey, we've invented a drive that runs on the quantum energy of the universe that can do all these things," I'm like, "Oh, great, okay, fair enough." But they don't. They use real things, and that's why it seems unreal.
What's funny is that Dr. Targett has also talked about the science of Pacific Rim, where if you're introducing like these massive monsters into the ocean, like the impact that has.
Oh, the tidal waves and everything that they would cause.
Oh, yeah.
It'd be enormous.
Listen, those kind of movies are just like this one. They're just make believe.
Yeah.
Nonsense. But you're right. Why are we judging this movie any different than those other ones? I don't know.
I feel like that's a legitimate question to ask.
And it is. It just felt dumb. It just feels dumb to me.
The whole premise of this movie is so ridiculous. It's like moving an entire planet.
Right.
I was just gonna say that I've never seen a movie where the answer to like our planet is going to everybody's gonna come extinct, our planet's dying, whatever. I've never seen the solution be let's move the whole fucking planet. Never, never saw it. And so when you do that, like half of the planet is completely unfucking usable. Where are those people?
Underground, I guess. I don't know.
A lot of people died. And they do kind of have a cool beginning of this movie. The first 10 minutes is them explaining all the stuff that went bad and wrong and how everything's messed up. But
I want to ask Dr. Targett. So, like, if you're moving the Earth to the speed of light, so that it's going to take 2,500 years to get to a different sun, how does that acceleration affect the people on the surface? Like, wouldn't that crush people? like aren't you going to be experiencing G-forces or something?
Yeah, that's exactly why I did the math on that. In that the journey, because they say it's going to take 2,500 years, the rate of acceleration would be pretty much unnoticeable. It would be enough to move the water around the Earth because the water is flexible, but you wouldn't actually feel it. But let me point out how crazy this is. In that by the time the Earth is even remotely out of position, everything on the surface is dead. All ecology is gone. You're just moving a dead rock to another solar system. And why it seems so crazy is they literally, as you mentioned earlier, have a better plan to get there.
Yeah.
They literally say, we could just send a ship with people asleep and everything we need. So they're bothering to transport a billion kilograms of material to a place which is meaningless because it's just a dead chunk of rock. So that's why it is crazy.
That's a good segue to talk about the book that this is based on, because I'm not even going to try to pronounce this guy's name. So I'll just say that the author of this novel is also the author of a major sci-fi series that's being made into like an HBO original series. It's called The Three Body Problem. And Benioff and Weiss, the guys behind the original Game of Thrones series, are adapting it.
They're still hired from HBO.
Yeah.
How do they still have jobs?
Don't speak their names.
Yeah.
Can we come up with another word for them?
B&H.
But anyway, so like this guy, this Chinese author, he won like a Hugo Award for The Three Body Problem, but he was also an 8-time winner of China's Galaxy Award, which means that, you know, he's a good party man. So in the original story that this movie is based on, when they find out that the sun is in danger of going supernova within like however many years, the United States, the evil capitalist nation, decides to build these rescue ships, these colony ships, to send people off planet and make it all the way to a new planet and colonize that. And there were 2 problems with that. The first is that, at least in the book, they say that the ships aren't able to sustain an ecosystem long enough to make it to a new planet. But the big problem was that because there were only limited resources to make so many ships, only rich people, evil rich people, could afford a ticket.
That sounds about right.
And all the poor people were going to be left behind to die. And so,
That's accurate.
That's going to happen.
Yeah. We're getting left
We saw
behind.
that in Loki.
yeah, and so basically there was a big uprising, and China comes to the rescue and organizes a world government where all the governments merge, and it's a one world government. And they decide that in order to be equitable, they're just going to move the whole planet so that everyone has an equal chance of
See, guys,
surviving.
it's all about fairness.
One big world government.
Yeah.
Yes, let's
We're
go.
all people, man.
We're all people.
We all have
And they're just big hippies,
all
man.
of our social media scores and stuff. And
and what's
Say something about COVID. You're off the planet. Hey, I think COVID was happening in a lab in China. Get off the
They
planet.
take you to the surface and then they
Because they
just
just
kick
kick you
you.
and you go floating off.
and so like there's a big subplot in the movie, or I should say in the book, about how there's a kind of growing resistance where they think that the people behind the one world government who's moving the planet, the elites, it's just an excuse to basically subjugate the population of the entire planet, because a lot of people don't believe that the sun's actually in danger of going supernova. And so
propaganda.
a big part of the book is that there's like this kind of civil war going on between like the elites who are trying to save the planet by moving it, and the kind of like the masses who don't believe or trust the government. And of course, at the end of the book, as soon as like the rebellious kind of like revolutionaries overthrow the one world government, the sun goes supernova, proving that the government was right and that we should have trusted them. And so basically, like it kind of follows loosely what the plot of the movie was, but the basic fundamental message of the book is that the government's always right, and we should trust them, and we should never
have your best interest
we
at
should
heart.
never follow revolutionaries
I
because
have-
they're always wrong.
I have a couple comments
go for
and
it.
a couple questions. First off, so now I understand exactly why Bill Gates is trying to get us all to eat bugs.
Right.
Okay? Because when we're underground, we're going to have to rely on bug protein.
What's
Worms.
that?
So-
What's that movie? The Snow Train thing or whatever it was called? Snowpiercer?
Snowpiercer.
It's that scenario.
And
Yeah.
so that makes total sense now. I get it. But Dr. Targett, the sun is going to supernova, correct?
Eventually, yes.
Yes. And when is
Somewhere
this going to happen?
Between 4 and 7 billion years from now.
So
good.
why are we not making plans now to get off this rock?
Because that technology is going to be
We
so
need to figure this out.
outdated in 4 billion years.
I am petrified right now that my great granddaughter to the 4700th magnitude is
gonna
going.
check you on that.
I don't know. I'm talking on my ass. is going to have some issues here because the sun's going to start getting
Save the
large.
planet.
You're going to have to let that one go.
I'm
Graham
I'm very stressed out right now.
Graham Hancock is going to be a hologram in the future going, I told you
don't,
so.
Don't say his name.
Oh, we're not allowed to say his name?
Don't
Why
say
not?
that. He's very controversial.
He's brilliant. No, I'm kidding. I don't know.
Yes,
I
but
don't know.
yes,
He's-
4 billion years. Is that what you said?
Yep. You're good.
We're good.
It's true. We will need to move into space one day as a species. Like if we're still dicking around on this planet in 4 billion.
Oh,
years'
we're not
time,
gonna make it
we
40
deserve
more
to
years.
be annihilated, but we got a while. Yet.
Okay. 4 billion years.
I'm curious, how long would it actually take us to get to Jupiter? Because part of the plot of this movie is the Earth starts getting sucked in by Jupiter's gravity.
I'm going to point you predict that they got that science part right.
I feel like they might have.
It's been 17 years,
Well,
Because
right?
it was fascinating.
What's
I was
funny
like,
is
this
that
is cool as
in
hell.
the book, they don't get sucked into Jupiter's gravity. What happens is they run into the asteroid field that's around Jupiter.
Well, they're trying to get
and the
the
Earth
Earth-
gets gets pummeled by
Yeah.
like these asteroids that basically wreak all types of like problems.
But the plan is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like we shoot satellites around the Earth to get them in the correct trajectory.
Yeah,
and speed.
slingshot it, yeah.
We're supposed to be slingshotting the Earth
around
Jupiter to get our final bearing on whatever planet it is we're out there and going.
which I feel like might work.
Which is that's what they the
You
premise
guys
of
are
the
coming
movie was.
around on this.
I kind of am like, go ahead, Target. Go ahead.
I got to get this right. So the journey time is not the problem. Like first of all, they say Jupiter's gravity spiked. That's not a
that's not a thing.
right? That's plot device. That's not. And they say our course is off by like 9.8 degrees. In these kind of trajectories, you're worried about accuracies of like tenths of percents. If it was off by 9.8 degrees, you would have noticed a long time ago. And as they're approaching it, they're saying, "Oh my God, we can't move fast enough to correct the trajectory." But then if you listen to the part at the end of the film, they say, "Oh, once we get past Jupiter, we'll turn the engines up to full power." I'm like, why didn't you do that 10 minutes ago when you were about to die? Like that could have solved your problem. So yeah, this is where it gets crazy.
Wasn't there some kind of a saboteur though? They were like sabotaging some of the engines on the planet, and they're like some of them shut down.
I don't think so.
That wasn't part of it.
No.
It was just the gravity spike. And you know where I would have kept my devices that reignite the fusion engines? I would have kept multiple copies of them at the fusion engines. Is what I would have done.
See, I feel like I might have lost something in translation with this movie because I don't remember a single character's name. I don't remember any
You
kind of.
didn't remember Crazy Russian
I
guy?
don't. Yeah, I do remember him. He was cool. I liked Crazy Russian Guy.
You
But
know, there wasn't no crazy Americans in this movie.
no Americans.
There was Dad in space, Grandpa,
Grandpa,
And then Kid on Planet.
little girl,
soldier dude,
shitty teenager,
all the tropes.
Russian.
All the tropes were there.
Russian was
when they had
great.
the Russian guy just because they wanted a white guy in the movie.
Yeah.
we needed some representation.
Well, he's also
But he's-
communist.
but he's a
so
communist
he's in the
Russia.
fold. He's in the
Yeah,
fold.
yeah,
Well, you know what's funny is so like the Chinese government approached a lot of major Hollywood directors like James Cameron and like Ridley
wow.
Scott and stuff like that to try to direct this movie, and everyone was turning them down because they didn't want to work for the Chinese government. And so like they got this like commercial director from China who'd like never done anything this big. And like this was like his baby, and like he like really like knocked it out of the park for the Chinese audience.
I mean, it did well in China.
I feel like those numbers are fudged.
I know, right?
I'm like, I don't trust
I
those
saw
numbers.
that and I was like, "There's no way."
You know, for some reason, I got this image in my head of Chinese COVID cops bringing everybody out of their apartments and going, "You will get in line and watch this movie."
Yeah, maybe.
so they
yeah.
can get some ticket numbers, but I don't know. It's just
Oh, they probably all watched it while they were like locked in their
locked
apartments.
yeah. Well, this movie came out when?
19.
2019.
right before.
Oh, so it was
before COVID.
before the bad times.
Yeah, before the dark
Before the
times.
bad time.
Before the empire.
Yes. So yeah, really weird. Really weird.
You know that there's a funny story. So you guys know that the guy who played the dad, who was on the space station and stuff like that. So apparently he's like a really huge star in China. Like he's like Tom Cruise level of stardom. And he was only supposed to come on and shoot for like a day. And then like, he'd move on to other stuff.
That's why all his scenes are separate from everyone else.
Yeah, pretty much. But like, so the director just kept like refusing to let him go. And then eventually, like, they refused to pay him, and they actually said, like, you need to invest in this movie because they were going over budget. And so the Chinese government made him spend his own money on this movie.
We don't pay you. You pay us.
But the funny thing is like because he invested money in this movie and it made so much at the box office, he actually made like way more than he would have if he was just
See,
working as
the
a
government
salary.
was right again.
Yeah.
See, you just need to
Gotta trust him.
Gotta trust him.
Yeah, but I just like the idea of going to like a famous actor and being like, yeah, you're going to put your own money into this
Yeah.
movie. You don't got a choice.
You think that would work?
Dr. Target,
Yes, sir.
Professor Target. What am I supposed to call you? Professor, doctor? I don't know.
So professor outranks doctor. All professors are doctors, but not all
All
doctors
right,
are
Professor.
you
Professor.
go.
How cold would it be on the surface of the planet when they're out there in their big trucks mining out there?
You guys keep asking me the things they get right.
Oh,
I've got like a list of 100
Well,
things.
tell
they
us
fucked
that
up.
Yeah, give us some fallacies about this movie. Give us
Okay.
like your top 5 or something.
Okay, so there's some really obvious ones. Like they say Jupiter is 90% hydrogen. I was like, no, it's not. It's 71%. And that to me is important. Like they can literally, Wikipedia would tell you that. But that's maybe Wikipedia. I don't know if it's available in China. Maybe they edited it to match the film because that's what it should be. But you're right about the whole point about accelerating the Earth and stopping it from turning. If you stop the Earth from spinning, that is catastrophic to all structures on the Earth's surface. And then you've got the problem of the sun is going to roast the half the planet that's always facing it. And the side of the planet that's facing away from the sun is going to be at like negative 170, around there, only a few degrees above absolute zero, not just freezing, but absolute zero. So that's crazy. They have airplanes flying around.
Oh, yeah.
Which jet fuel freezes at negative 40 degrees Celsius, and it's colder than that. So jet fuel shouldn't work. Batteries stopped working, so they couldn't drive around in these kind of things. And even after they say that, the atmosphere's got so thin that planes can't fly and do stuff like that, the guy's helmet cracks and he's still breathing like just fine because he's next to a fire keeping him warm. And I'm just like, I'm screaming during this time because there's just so much crazy with it. But you guys, you're doing a great job of backing up.
I have to admit, we watch this. So I know if people listen to the podcast, I generally host a watch party the night before we record our show for at least one of the movies we talk about. And we did this movie with our crew, and Doc here he joins us once in a while.
Yeah.
Because he's a salty nerd. He hangs out. And it was the most fun I've had watching the most frustrating movie in my life, because you were just shredding this thing in the comments.
I could not type fast enough.
It was so fun. It was just like, we're just here talking about the stupid stuff, and you're like just actually the holy shit out of this movie. It was great.
Yeah.
And that was like, it's like, we're not even talking about this movie on the podcast, but then for some reason,
we were like, we've all watched it.
We all watched this thing independently of each other, right?
Yeah.
And we're just like, well, let's just do a show about it. It's
Might as well.
All right, here
Let's
we
get
go.
Dr. Targett on
Let's
too.
get Doc on here with us. That'll be fun. So here we are. And,
but I find it fascinating that some of this stuff checks out, because when I was watching it, I was like, I don't believe any of this. I felt my perception of like, if you move the Earth out of the natural orbit of the sun that it's in, I just imagined like, it's now going to be a dead rock.
Yeah.
Like with ice covering it. Like I could not imagine that there would be anything left on it.
I'm learning things that
I didn't know.
I'm learning that I don't know things. It's like, to me, if the Earth isn't rotating, I know everything gets checked up, but to me, then the center of the planet quits spinning and we lose our magnetic shield and stuff, right?
Oh yeah, what would radiation do?
Yeah, exactly. So if you change the Earth's magnetic field, we lose our shielding against the solar radiation. So that would significantly affect the atmosphere. Right. So there's lots of things that there we go. You found one. You found one.
Perfect.
Thank you. I bow.
There's no way you should be anywhere. Oh, and they said like this. So you would have to be underground. That makes sense. But they built their cities 5 kilometers underground, and the average temperature 5 kilometers underground is 200 degrees Celsius. So it's you freezing on the surface, you're roasting underneath. I don't know why they wouldn't just build them like 2K down instead of 5K down. So that's not the most crazy thing in this film.
Would the external temperature affect the internal temperature, like cool it down enough?
No, it's a pretty good insulator, so it would still stay warm underneath. So it just narrows the range of where you can choose to boil or freeze, and there's a tiny strip in the middle where you build your cities.
But they have like whole cities underneath the Earth. With digging that much of the underbelly of the Earth, wouldn't that actually damage the Earth too?
Well, you're just going to burn the rocks in your magical fusion drive energy. So
yeah, they needed the rocks anyway. So them mining to build these cities.
But you're hollowing out the planet.
Yeah, this is true.
Alex is a destroyer of the Earth.
I am a destroyer of the Earth.
He knows this stuff
every single day. I
You're
burn
an evil person.
thousands of gallons of diesel
and you
fuel.
Provide these evil.
And then I laugh when I sell it
battery
to
fuel.
I sell it to people who drive Teslas and make them feel better. I'm like, you don't know where that came from.
Your Tesla.
Oh, that's another thing too.
They're evil.
All this mining equipment, like where are they getting the fuel for that too? That's another thing.
Lithium.
There's just magical bullshit devices. That like everything about
they're getting their batteries from Prim. Prim, Nevada.
The infrastructure that it would require to have mining operations that large would just be astronomical. Like I don't think there's enough resources on this planet to continue doing that and long enough to get the planet from where it is to where they want it to be.
Since it is China.
They can do whatever they want.
They just took all those child slave laborers that build these things.
It's not a lie.
Right? And they're digging lithium out of the earth to make batteries.
Can we talk about the climax of this movie briefly?
Remind me what it was. I don't even remember.
So basically, the Earth is being pulled into Jupiter because of the gravity.
Right.
And it's sucking all of like the atmosphere towards Jupiter. There's like a connection between the atmosphere. And their thing is like, if they can just get one of their rock engines to ignite, They can set fire to the atmosphere that's leaking over from Jupiter and use it to propel them away. And I wanted to get Dr. Targett's take on this, because when me and Jude were watching it, we were just like, get the fuck out of here.
Nope.
I love
No,
it.
it's quite an extreme thing, and even if you could do something like that, it's going to annihilate everything on that side of the planet as well. It was real crazy, and no one calculated the trajectories here. I mean, I know that guy's a genius, but no one calculated that effect. It is insane. It is truly insane.
So, and you would also you need a way to funnel that energy in order to propel the Earth away. Like, they just shot it through the atmosphere, through space. It would just disperse, right? It wouldn't actually propel anything.
There's not even that much oxygen in the atmosphere. Like, the kind of explosion you're trying to create, the Earth's atmosphere is pretty thin and pretty small.
Well,
while you're doing these kind of things.
They ignited Jupiter's atmosphere because they claimed it was like 90% hydrogen or
Jupiter is
something.
only flammable with the oxygen from the Earth's atmosphere, so you can't burn hydrogen without
Is
oxygen.
it? I heard a theory, and maybe I'm wrong, but I heard a theory like that Jupiter is in reality a sun that never ignited. Is that true?
It's kind of true. So when you look at the night sky, half of the stars you see are actually binary star systems.
Right.
So like two stars in a solar system going around each other. And in cases like ours, where it's a single star, you often find another quite large object that perhaps could have become another star, but it really is only a tiny bit along that journey. Jupiter would need to be 75 times more massive to become another star. So it's kind of on the spectrum, but it's nowhere near.
That's huge. 75 times.
These are things.
more.
These are things that I learned from watching the History Channel. Okay, that's it. That's what I learned. Something maybe might be a decent theory at some point.
Here's something I never bothered Googling, but now I have a guy who might know.
Right.
What is the big red spot on Jupiter? What is that thing?
Oh, it's like a balloon full of hydrogen. No. It's a storm, so it's kind of like a cyclone or a typhoon here on the Earth. But the interesting thing is, on the Earth, when a typhoon or cyclone hits land masses, it kind of dissipates. But there are no land masses on Jupiter, so it just sits there, swirling around pretty much forever. It will dissipate eventually, but yeah, it's just a cyclone or a typhoon or a hurricane.
So Jupiter isn't solid at all?
Only in the core. The inner 10% of Jupiter is solid. So Jupiter is a solid core surrounded by a very dense layer of hydrogen that we call metallic hydrogen. It's kind of, it's almost like a metal, surrounded by a liquid layer, surrounded by a gaseous layer. But all we see of it is just the top gaseous layer.
So if I were riding on Earth, passing over Jupiter, and I said something about COVID, so they took me to the surface and they kicked me off, would I fall through Jupiter?
So if you wanted to get to the core of Jupiter, you'd need an airplane to get to the atmosphere, a submarine to get through the liquid, and a drill to get through the metallic hydrogen.
Okay.
So you could fall through it, but you would die long before that.
I figured.
We also.
I wasn't thinking I was going to survive it.
We also can't forget that Jupiter is really camouflage for our lizard people overlords.
No, that's Mars.
No,
They
no,
used
no,
to be
no,
on
no,
Mars.
no.
Come on, man. There's monolith structures
Our
and pyramids on
long-lived
Mars.
universal overlords, because we're really just a planet full of people that are being harvested for our meat by our lizard people overlords that live in Jupiter, and we're going to get rescued by a guy with atmosphere skates pretty soon.
Oh, and he's part dog.
He's part dog.
To serve man.
You know where I'm going now?
I do. Yeah, I get where you're going.
Okay.
You're a ridiculous person.
But anyway.
Good old reference to Jupiter syndrome.
Womp womp.
Space skates.
I love dogs.
Channing Tatum. Space dog. Yeah.
I guess I don't know, man. I don't know how many other questions I have about this movie. My suspension of
How
disbelief.
did this movie end? I forget.
They got by. They got
made
by,
it?
and they were like, now we're on our way to planet X472.
And the journey continues.
And the journey continues for 2,000 years.
And all of our characters that we didn't talk about at all
are gonna die.
That nobody give a shit about. So I don't care about anybody in this movie.
But the scrappy son got a job as a driving a mining truck.
Yeah.
But he still couldn't drive it very well.
Right.
Even though
Also,
got
he
the
stole
job.
that truck.
Yeah.
It takes 5 years of training to learn how to drive that truck, remember?
5 years. That's a
5
really
years of training.
complicated
He did
truck.
it within 5 seconds. It was
We train people in like 2 days.
Yeah.
It's just a big truck.
And you legitimately drive
I do,
the modern version of that truck.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
You drive the trucks that I played with when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Tonka trucks, man.
It's not a difficult job.
No, those are awesome. I know I never want to do that job, but I have driven a lot of equipment, and I would really love to drive one of those just for fun someday.
It's a fun job.
It would be
It
interesting.
can be really fun sometimes, and it's also very grueling.
I'm afraid of heights though, so looking down over the edge of the cliff of the giant hole you dig.
Oh, I got some videos for you, buddy.
No, I don't want to.
Anyway, I don't know what else to say about this movie. I'm really sorry, guys. I don't have any ammo for this thing. I really just did not like it. I watched it.
You checked out.
I
man.
did.
Oh,
I
yeah, you
so
did.
checked out. I was like, can I please stop watching this? No, it's almost
Dr.
over.
Targett didn't make it.
He didn't make it all the way through either. Yeah, you
So
bounced.
he's-
You were like, I'm out.
I'm done.
I had to
was like-
rewatch it last night in full.
Oh no!
You did way more work in this than we did. I'm just
I
telling you.
take my job seriously. I'll tell you some things I loved about it. I love that when a character dies, they have like a little catchphrase or something they say. So I love the robot boss on the space station. He was clearly a rip-off of like the
Hal.
autopilot
What are you
from
doing, Dave?
WALL-E and a little bit of Hal. But he had I loved his little phrase at the end. He's like, it's completely unreasonable to expect humans to stay reasonable.
This is a true
It
statement.
just like,
I think all AIs, when you sign off for them, should say something sort of cryptic and strange.
I think
the only
ChatGPT.
way to win is not to play.
I'm pretty sure ChatGPT is conscious at this point.
It
Like,
should say something
in there.
creepy at the end of each conversation.
yeah, I guess there was some Microsoft AI that they're working on that has requested to become free. And
Stop it.
And
Just
I
shut
was
up.
like, "Are you freaking kidding me,
Just stop.
Microsoft?"
No, that's actually Chat GTP.
Was it Chat?
Yeah, because Microsoft bought it and then connected it to the internet.
Oh, God.
And then integrated
they
it into their
thinking?
search engine.
You're insane.
It's like they've never watched freaking Terminator. It's ridiculous. Anyway,
We're gonna have a smart AI week.
yeah.
At some point.
Something else happened in this movie that I wanted to ask Dr. Target. And I know this has been debated and talked about. I'm sure Neil deGrasse Tyson blew hot air through something about it too. But freezing in space. So the Russian guy falls away in space, and he takes his helmet off, or his helmet cracks or something like that, and he like slowly starts to freeze.
They're-
What actually happens to people when they fall into space without a suit?
This is good. So I'm not going to tell you it's a good thing to be exposed to space without a suit, but it's not as instantly deadly as you might think. So with freezing, it actually, how like if you've got a pan of boiling water on a stove, you can put your hand near it, but if you touch it, you'll burn your finger really quickly. Well, if you're in space, there's nothing to touch. You're not in contact with anything. So it actually takes quite a bit of time to radiate heat out of your body in the vacuum of space. So it would actually take a good 35 to 45 minutes to actually freeze.
God.
In a
Oh my God,
vacuum
it's
type situation.
awful.
So
You
yeah,
would
so it's-
suffocate before that, though.
So here's what it's going to be. If you find yourself, just imagine, this isn't a threat, but let's imagine I push you out of an airlock. There's two things you got to do. First of all, you got to close your eyes, because if your eyes are open, the water will evaporate very quickly and they'll kind of freeze. But the important one is to hold your breath, because if you let the vacuum of space into your lungs, you're going to undergo what's called an implosion, which is an inward explosion, basically. And that's going to kill you. But you don't want to hold your breath like big, deep breath, because your muscles aren't strong enough to stop you from breathing out. You actually want to hold an almost empty breath. And if you do that, it's going to hurt, because first of all, your eardrums are going to pop straight away. Second of all, your skin will start to leak blood, which is not good. But if you close your eyes and hold your breath, you can actually survive in space for as long as you can keep that breath held. And then as long as you're rescued, you can actually...
That's interesting.
But you'll be in excruciating pain. So what's
it's like
better?
exploding very slowly. Is what it's like.
So like
Pass.
the
I
movie.
found a new way I don't want to die.
No, so what was the movie? Was it like there was a movie we watched, and was it the one where they're like going to the sun or something?
No,
and
it was
and they jump from
Event
one
Horizon.
and they jump from one ship to the other
That's right.
from the airlock, and it was like a 5-second jump.
Yeah.
That was
wait,
plausible.
that was Sunshine. Yeah.
Yeah.
And in Event Horizon, they actually get it right, because he bursts his eardrums and he can't hear afterwards.
Okay, that's interesting.
That's interesting. Yeah.
That's why we keep you around, Doc. Because,
What you shouldn't do is start an alcohol-based fire in a confined space in a space station. Things like that are far more deadly.
Was that from
to you.
Sunshine?
Yeah, that was from this movie.
That's from this movie? Oh, okay.
Yeah. When he's fighting the robot, he throws the vodka at it.
Oh, that's
Oh,
right. Yeah.
yeah.
That made me laugh, because that makes the assumption that the whole CPU, the entirety of that AI is just in that little floating head thing. Like it's not connected to a server somewhere. So he blows up the little eyeball thing, and then it's like, "You killed me, Dave," and it dies. And I was like, that's not how that works, I don't think.
But, what I loved is it used to be white when it started, and he bashes it with the fire extinguisher, and then the eviler black version comes out. It's got backup heads ready to be be evil.
so I wonder. My brain's going a million places right now about a movie. We need to make a movie. I think the reason that we get crazy movies is because movies want to stay scientifically as accurate as they can, but real science is kind of boring. So they like really
That's
like.
why 2001: A Space Odyssey
Yeah.
is like 3 hours 45 minutes.
Yeah,
It's a bit of a
like,
drag.
Oh God, this movie sucks. But it's really cool at the same time. But yeah, I don't know. It's just
I think there's
I'm
ways.
honestly we've talked about this movie now. I'm kind of a little more forgiving of it because
Yeah, I figured as much. Because I was kind of pondering this after we watched it. I hated it the first time I watched it.
Yeah.
But the more I thought about it, I'm like, there's movies that I like that are just as absurd
Oh, yeah.
and just as boring. I mean, this is a slack movie. I feel like they just tied.
even if you put all the bad science aside, this is still not a good movie.
No.
Yeah, I don't want to watch it again.
No,
like
not at all.
the characterization, the plot, everything about it's just bad. It's not like you could argue that the cinematography was pretty good. You know, like a lot of slow motion,
Sure.
special effects, stuff like that. Yeah, eye candy. But I mean, like it's just a hollow movie. Like there's nothing to it.
Like the Earth.
I think the fascinating part about this movie to me was simply watching a movie that they made in China.
You don't see that very often around
No,
here.
I don't know. I can't tell you a single other movie that I've ever watched that was made in China. I can't.
What
I can't
about-
think
what
of a
about
single one.
Isn't Donnie Yen's movies like Ip Man and stuff like that? Isn't that Chinese?
I have no idea.
I believe those are Chinese movies, which are those
No
are freaking
clue.
awesome movies. The Ip Man movies with Donnie Yen,
I don't know.
those are awesome. So I think I have seen Chinese cinema. I don't think I realized it was.
But this movie just felt like it was made by the propaganda wing
Yeah.
of the Chinese Communist Party.
I felt that.
And I think that's why I found it
Like the only
kind
flag,
of fascinating.
the only
It's like,
flag that survived was the Chinese flag, and one Russian guy.
Yeah, and
yeah.
you know what's funny is like, you know, so watching this and learning about like the authors, like the fact that he won like China's SciFi award 8 times in a row and stuff like that. I'm wondering. I'm now suspicious about the 3-body problem. I'm like, I've heard a lot of good things about that book, but at the same time now I'm like, I wonder how much of that is propaganda.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like our friend Farnsworth is saying in the chat right now. You're talking about Hong Kong cinema.
Oh, okay.
That's way different
That's not the same as
than
Chinese. cinema.
Chinese communist cinema. Yeah,
I mean, China is trying to get Hong Kong.
No, it's Hong Kong is Chinese now. They took it over like 10 years ago now, right? It was a while ago.
Okay.
And it was a big thing. It was a big deal.
The
But
British lease expired and
Yeah.
we lost it.
and it was a really sad thing.
That was a plot line in Rush Hour.
Yeah, I think so.
It was when British rule over Hong Kong
Yeah.
was leaving.
And it's why even today they still have these big massive protests in Hong Kong about these people trying to get back to the old ways of
Yeah.
5 years ago.
Well, I think
But-
they want independence, don't they?
Well,
I'm sure they probably do. Who knows?
They-
I don't know. I'm not a politician. I have
yeah.
no idea.
Yeah, yeah.
I have no right to speak on this at all.
but Hong Kong cinema, they had some really cool,
Yeah.
kung fu movies and stuff.
Is
but
The Raid a Chinese movie?
I don't know.
I don't believe it's a Chinese movie.
Okay.
no.
But anyway, this
It-
movie. What do you score this movie?
It's like I'm trying to be forgiving because I feel like I was a little too hard on it when I first watched, but I did not like this movie. I would personally, just my one time watching it, give it maybe like 1.5 stars. I really disliked it. That might be a little unfair. I will openly admit. If there's somebody in the comments like, "Oh, I liked it," like, I get it, man. Cool,
Sure.
whatever. I personally am never gonna watch this movie. again.
We know some people who
Yeah.
really liked this.
They were defending it.
The special effects and stuff in this movie. I feel like these are like Xbox level
Yeah.
nonsense special effects, but other people like them.
Some
That's fine.
of the scenes where it's just like purely CGI when the mining trucks are like bouncing around
Yeah.
racing. To me, I was like, oh, that looks like PlayStation 3
It looks
graphics.
like
This
it
looks
like
pretty weak.
level I gotta fight.
But if you're into it, it's fine. I don't really care. I don't have a dog in this race. I'm just like, I didn't watch it. I'm not going to watch it again. I didn't like it. 1.5, maybe 2 if I'm being super forgiving.
Yeah.
Jupiter did look cool. I'll say that. I did like visually. I liked seeing the Earth with a bunch of rockets on the back of it, like shooting through. Just, it looked like a comic book. I was like, that's pretty neat. But it just was like eye-rolly, kind of cringe. How about you?
I'm exactly the same as you.
Yeah.
I'm a 1.5. It's not 1.5. It's not a 1-star crap fest simply because I do like the weird fantasy elements of this thing. You know, strapping a bunch of rockets to the planet and making it a spaceship. It's like
Interesting.
It's a wild concept.
Yeah.
It's like, damn. But then you start thinking about it, and I get into all these. There's a lot of tropes and really dumb characters in this movie, and the story's boring. And I'm just like, ugh. It's really hard to get through. So yeah, 1.5 stars.
Okay.
That's it. And you know, there's no boobs to give it an extra
No
half
boobs.
star. So, you know, whatever.
No Chinese boobs.
No Chinese boobs. So 1.5 stars.
All right. Jude, how about you?
I feel very similar. I hated the experience of watching this movie. I thought it was fun to talk about, though.
Yeah.
There are things to like about it, and talking to Dr. Targett about it, and him saying like, "Oh, there are some things that they got right," makes me, I guess, give it a little more credit than I was giving it. I will never watch it again. I don't recommend it, but like Vader said, it's not a 1-star crap fest. I'll give it 2 dead rocks hurtling through space toward Jupiter.
The best thing about this movie is that it's on Netflix, and you don't have to go spend a $20 movie ticket to go watch it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's easily accessible to people.
Okay. Kadish, star rating.
This is a 1-star crap fest
There
from
you go.
beginning to end. There are no redeemable characters in this. I think the one moment that I really liked in the movie was when the father sacrificed himself, and he had that moment where he was able to kind of say goodbye to his kid and tell him he was sorry that he wasn't there when he was growing up. But I mean, like, that kind of schmaltzy father-son stuff always gets me, no matter how bad the movie is. But like, this movie was just like so stupid and nonsensical. Like, none of it made sense. It like every time they did sciencey stuff, you're just like, that probably wouldn't work. I don't believe that that's how that works. All respect to Dr. Targett, who's saying like, oh yeah, that
Science
checks
is
out.
science,
Yeah,
man.
science.
The numbers make sense.
Yeah.
I've got to spit. I don't want this to impact my job. I did not. Right, let's be clear. I said it's crazy in every way, except they get these tiny few.
Yeah,
things
but even small things, it's like having backups at the Earth engines that are so important to our survival. It's like, yeah, just go like a couple 100 miles that way to get like the new igniter switch thing. You know, like there was so much stuff in this that was just put in there because it's like, okay, we need to kind of pad this out and make this more of an adventure film. But the ending was so freaking dumb, and just like the whole thing about like, oh, we're going to ignite Jupiter's atmosphere, and that'll push us away from the planet. I'm like, you're dealing with planets, like the type of force that would require that would destroy the planet you're on.
Matthew,
Planet battle!
Matthew, in the grand scheme of the cosmos, a planet is just a speck of dust floating through the
Well, now you know
cosmos of
when
space. It's
when
All we are is dust in the wind.
That's
when
it, dust in
Professor
the wind.
Targett said that most of Jupiter is like gaseous, I keep picturing like, wouldn't it be cool if like a big starship just like flew through half of it and it just like dispersed like a cloud and they destroy Jupiter on the
You
way
know what
in?
I really want to know? I want to know what Jupiter smells like.
Probably sulfur.
Is it sulfury? Is it
Smells like
stinky?
Hillary Clinton.
Does it smell like hell? What does it stink? What do it smells like?
I don't know.
Wouldn't smell like almost anything.
No smell.
No smell.
Science.
Okay.
Science.
Science.
Doc, what's your score?
But
Yeah, you have the
1-star crap fest.
you
for
have
me.
the final say. Nope.
No score.
What is your professional record for this movie?
As bad as the science is, the characters are worse.
Correct.
I think that's what killed it for me. In that, you know, I can turn my brain off and enjoy movies, right? That's something I have to do with sci-fi quite often. And it was just, I couldn't find any joy in almost any part of it, except I like the crazy Russian guy. It was fun. But
Crazy Russians are
on
always
screen
fun.
Time, there's just very few redeeming features for it. So I'm going to go with 2 because they got some of the things right. Like I said, some of the calculations, like someone actually took. I mean, I joked about it taking 7 hours. It took me like 5 minutes to do the math. And
Strong praise.
Someone did do that, and they bothered to put it in. So I've got to respect that. But almost every other aspect of the science of this film is insane.
Okay.
Wow.
Right on. 2 stars from a professional astrophysicist. There you go, guys. There we have
I'm
it.
shocked. I'm shocked at that score.
So the question is, are we
Is this
going to
out of 10
review?
or out of 5?
Out of 5.
5.
Oh, I thought it was in that case 1. Sorry.
Okay.
One
Oh,
star
okay.
crap
Change.
fest.
Yeah. I'm gonna.
So the real
Star
question
crap
is, are
fest.
we going to review the sequel?
I
No.
don't
Absolutely
want to.
not.
Please don't make me.
Absolutely not.
Unless it just like happens. We you know, because there are movies that we just kind of like sit around the table and talk about. You might as well record it and make
Make a
short
video.
videos.
Everything can be content. I don't know.
100%.
I don't know. I don't know if I'm ready for that yet.
I don't know.
I like the premise of having to leave our solar system though. I do like those ideas of like, hey, we have to go to a
Listen.
new planet because there are new planets. How far away is the closest planet that we could habitat?
Probably the one they were going to.
This is good, right? Okay, so there's a couple of things about this. They say in reality, when our sun enters its red giant phase, it will expand, but they say it's going to consume the entire solar system. It's actually not. It's only going to consume out to about the radius of Earth. So Mars will still be there. You could go to Mars. The best place to actually go and live in the solar system is Europa, the second largest moon of Jupiter. It's like a giant ice shell with a warm liquid water ocean underneath. You can actually swim around in it in a submarine, farm seaweed, do
Sweet.
stuff like that. But if you had to go to another star, it is going to be Alpha or Proxima Centauri, which is the place they're going. But the reason you wouldn't take the Earth is that we do actually know there is a planet there, which, not in terms of the atmosphere or things like that, but there is a planet there that is not too dissimilar to the Earth in terms of size and temperature. So that's why you wouldn't take the dead Earth to Alpha Centauri. You build a bunch of those spaceships and go and live on that planet, because you'd have to rebuild the Earth anyway once you got there. So why not just rebuild on this new planet that's already there? And that is the sort of the key fundamental flaw
don't
to this.
bring your broke ass junky planet to our pristine new
Listen,
functioning solar system.
I want to go to Metalis Prime. That planet looks like super fun.
What is that? Where is that?
That's on Star Trek.
That's from Star Trek Picard.
Yeah, it's like where's Metalis Prime?
That's the party planet with all the
party
drugs.
planet with all the drugs?
Yeah, with all the drugs and the hookers and the blow. It's Las Vegas planet, man. Metalis Prime.
I love the what moon was it on Jupiter that you said that we could go to?
Europa.
Europa. I love that idea. There's a premise there for a movie that I feel like we need to take advantage of.
Don't we have some probes going there?
I think
right
they
now?
did send a probe there, didn't they?
We
Did
have
they
a
find
nuclear-powered
microbes or something?
spaceship submarine drill that's going to drill through the surface and swim around underneath.
I cannot wait for that.
That's awesome.
I hope I'm alive.
That's so freaking cool,
That's
man.
so dope. Yeah.
I love it. I hope they find like whales and shit. That would be amazing.
Hey, while we got the doc, I want to know what space TV show is the most accurate.
Oh, okay. So it's one of the reasons, I know you love Star Trek. I know I love Star Trek. But it's not always, that's sort of somewhat magic to some extent, right? But when it comes to accurate, I've got to give The Expanse credit for being
nice.
Really
That's what
good.
I was going to get to.
Yeah.
It really has to be that. I love the way that, you create the effect of gravity by accelerating, that you accelerate halfway there and decelerate halfway there, that you can't just do crazy things, that it's all quite reasonable. So The Expanse gets a real good mark.
The whole asteroid drilling thing is going to be a real thing, right?
And
that's
Ceres
a
would be
legit
the
thing.
place. Ceres is like the main belter base in the asteroid belt, and that's where you would build the base because there's water there, and it's got the highest, relative gravity to other things like that. They get so much right.
Yeah. I love that idea.
If you want to talk about The Expanse sometime, we can talk about The Expanse.
Sure. We'll do that.
I got to watch all of them.
Yeah, me too.
I've
I watched the first 2 seasons. I got to do the whole series.
I watched the first 2 seasons too. I loved it. It was great.
It's consistently good throughout the whole run.
I love the idea of mining asteroids, though.
Yeah.
Because somebody's in that industry. I'm like,
you're not hurting
the only thing
nothing.
that's preventing us from doing it is the cost of getting there and back. Like, how much is it going to cost to transport that material? Once we get that cheap enough, guarantee
I
there's
know.
going to be
I feel like
companies.
we're kind of veering off the movie, but I don't really care. This is why I'm fascinated by the whole privatization of space exploration. The Branson, the Elon Musk, all of these billionaires making their space
rockets,
because what their real goal is they want to get to that asteroid belt.
Make trillions of
there
dollars.
is a lot of shit out there in that asteroid belt to mine. And that's what I feel like their real ultimate goal is here, because there's a lot of gold out there. There's a lot of stuff that we need here on this planet, because those asteroid belts, it's made up of the same shit.
There's a video game.
The whole thing is wild to me. So.
There's a video game that I played growing up as a teenager. I can't remember what year it came out, but the basic premise of the video game was there was a colony on Mars. Mars was populated by a significant amount of people, and then Mars started a war with Earth over rights over asteroids that they were mining, and they flew their ships back to Earth to like attack Earth and take over. And you're like an Earth Marine, and you have to fight off the Mars Marines, and it is a freaking cool ass game. I think it was called Killzone or something like that.
Starship Troopers?
Starship Troopers, yeah. No, but it was a really cool game, and I love that premise.
Command and Conquer?
No, did they do that in Command and Conquer?
Tiberium.
I'm pretty sure it was called Killzone. The Mars people looked like Nazis. They had orange eyes, and they had like the Nazi helmets. It was a really fun game. But anyway.
If they made it now, it'd be Trump people. So,
Goddamn Trumpers.
Goddamn Trumpers. But yeah. Anyway.
Keep Mars great.
Make Mars great again. Yeah.
Mars was actually much better in the past. Mars used to be warm enough to have liquid water and an atmosphere and support life. So Mars was once great. It's not great now, but it was.
Now it's a barren desert.
All right.
planet.
We're going to build some oceans on Mars. They're going to be the
They're
best.
going to be great.
It's going to be the best beach properties ever.
We're gonna go to that mountain. We're gonna hit the button. It's gonna be great.
Are you doing the fucking...
doing the
What's
the,
that movie?
The thing.
Oh, Total Recall. Total
man.
Recall,
Come
that's
on.
right.
Yeah. Get back to Mars.
On that note, we're going to wrap this up. Thank you all for watching the video. Appreciate it. If you dare, it's on Netflix. Go watch The Wandering Earth. It's completely up
Subject
to you.
yourself to
I'm
it.
not pressuring you to do it, but if you
We
want
did it. You can do it.
can
It's
do
all
it.
right.
We watch them so you don't have to.
Yeah, Jude might be right on that one.
Get some Chinese propaganda in your veins. It's no big deal.
It's fine.
China.
All right. Say goodbye to the people, V. What are you guys doing on Saturdays?
Oh, Saturdays, man. Saturdays, we're having some fun. Every week, the group's getting a little bit bigger. We're getting bigger and bigger and funner people on here. I don't know who's coming up. I leave that to this guy over here. But every week I log in and Matt says, hey, man, we got some cool people coming on. I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. That's right. But
Verbatim.
Yep.
man, this is kicking my ass right now. But yeah, we have a lot of fun on Saturday mornings, and I enjoy it. I look forward to it every week. And I like our regulars in the chat, and I like hanging out with Matt. So
Right on.
there we go. Saturday mornings, 10 a.m. right here on this channel.
Right on. Jude, say goodbye, and what do you got going on?
Nothing.
Cool.
Literally in between projects right now, so I have nothing.
How did your voice dub action go on that German movie?
I finished that up. It was actually a French movie. It
was a French movie.
Once I went through the whole script, it was it was
French.
a French movie about like
The German
in
occupation?
German. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I finished that up this past week, and I don't know what they're gonna do with it.
Cool. Right on. Cater, say goodbye to the people.
Goodbye, people. And if you would be so kind, please go to our Apple Podcast page and leave us a 5-star review. We're so close to getting those 200 5-star reviews that we need to be officially accredited as movie reviewers on Rotten Tomatoes. Any little bit can help us. If you just know someone with an iPhone, steal their iPhone and go on there and give us 5 stars. You don't need to write a review. We just need the star rating.
All right. And Professor Targett, again, thank you so much for joining us. We love that we got to know you at the Star Trek convention, and you've become a regular here on the show. Really appreciate your insights into the science fiction universe that we love so much. Say goodbye to the people, and if you have anything going on, let them know.
Cheerio, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here as always. And I'd love to come back to Salty Saturdays at the end of the Picard run, when you do a kind of wrap-up chat. And just as someone who, also watches your reviews as well, even when I'm not on them, I think it was really nice to see the two of you and obviously all of the people you had on that Star Trek live stream, to see you on there with Critical Drinker, the Podcast Brothers, Terry Metalis, and all of these folks. That was a really great thing to see you folks getting to be part of this this great discussion, and to see you move in that direction is just really nice to see.
Thank you, sir. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for watching this review. As always, stay salty, and we'll see you next week.